whatever the pieces you're doing, flyers, brochures, booklets, or design, for an ad on Facebook or whatever. Those all things need to be eye-catching and make your customers feel like these people know what they're doing.
And I mean, hell, even this past week, I was still learning things that we can do, and I'm like, what, we can do that for real? and there's just so much.
I know we take pride in the end user and how the customer at the end of the day, is taken care of and making sure that they get what they need out of it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Right here we got the FIP Printing Pros. I'm your host, Josh Dynison. With me, I got my co-host, Christopher Lockwood, or Chris Lockwood. You tell me what you'd rather be known by.
Yeah, as long as you don't call me late for dinner, Chris is fine.
Today, what we'll be talking about is basically how doing digital marketing and physical marketing works together. Some people might say that it's either or, and in my opinion, you need to do both. And we're going to talk mostly on the physical marketing side and how that can help your business. But before we start that, what I'd like to do is, obviously the last episode I got to introduce myself and you got to know me a little bit, but I'll do a little quick intro with Chris here so you get to know a little bit about him. And go ahead and take it away, Chris.
Yeah. So, hey, Josh, thanks for making me a part of this, man. It's going to be an exciting journey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, a little bit about me. Where to start. Retired 24 years, active duty Army, and during that time, I did 19 years of recruiting. So, marketing. We did a lot of self marketing and promotions and stuff like that, just as as yourself and all that. So I think that's really where I got my understanding of the marketing process, as limited as it was. But
you were selling people's parents on letting their kids go to war.
Hey, if you can sell someone, to give up their life for something bigger than them, then that's a pretty big deal. But even in that, you got to do marketing, right?
Exactly.
But since then, so I retired in 2021. Like I said, I did 24 years active duty Army. Retired, worked for a company that taught service members and veterans how to invest in real estate, and through that got a lot more into the digital marketing, the online stuff, the course creation, using a lot of the technology. And then since then I changed. Obviously, came to work for FIP. It's when I really got a chance to dive into the marketing. And what's really funny about it is the timing on how everything worked out is almost fortuitous, right? Because not only am I learning and doing the marketing and the sales stuff that I've done for years, I'm also a high performance coach. So it gives me the opportunity to use what I'm learning through this process on the physical side with you to apply towards my coaching practice and all that kind of stuff. So 100% agree. This is definitely, it's not one or the other.
Yes.
It is definitely got to be most. So I'm really looking forward to kind of diving in and, talking about how we can use both and, providing a little bit of my experience when I first even figured out there were places that did print and stuff like that and kind of where it leads to now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, kind of to start it off is, we got to talk a little bit about really where we're at in the current state of marketing. And when you look at it, we're a digital age where we're at right now. And in my opinion, and also just, looking in the research and the market and everything that, I've looked into, a lot of people are, starting to get a little almost not bored's not the word, but almost kind of it's just expected, all the digital. So sometimes, while you're doing your digital ads, you're just scrolling through stuff and you're just used to seeing it and you're just dealing with it and you just kind of put it off to the side almost, where in the beginning it used to be more just like, this is new, it's eye-catching and things like that. So to combat that is sometimes still now going back to the old school ways and tying in the physical marketing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny, right? So it's convenient to have everything right here in a digital form. It's how you can reach the masses really, really quickly. And you can get your message out there to a broad audience digitally.
Yep.
But when you're really getting down to the brass tacks, when you're getting into, are people going to trust you? Is your message getting through? Having something tangible in your hand.
Yep.
is where you're going to make a lot of sales. And with the digital marketing, everything was so new and it changes so quick. Like right now with AI, like even, it's almost like day after day, there's something new. There's a different way to do it.
Yep.
But when you really want someone to say, hey, this is the direction I want to go with buying a house or buying a car or something like that, I can look everything up online. But when I can actually just hold that paper in my hand and I feel the weight of that material and I'm looking at the plans for the house or I'm looking at the pictures or I'm looking at the car, it seems more real.
Yep.
Right? In the digital, I'm not saying photos aren't real, but when you're actually holding it, it makes it just a little bit more real. Or whenever you get a business card, we were at that event last week, right?
Yep.
And there were several people like, oh, just scan this and my number will be in the thing. But, the problem with that is I have like 200 or 300 contacts in my phone.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I don't know who that was. Or you can't remember if you don't make a note. But if I got that business card and you make a note on the back, you remember, right? So both are important. And I think we have to use both the right way in order to get our message across to whoever our potential clients or customers are.
Yeah, and you mentioned the tangible aspect and talked about even just that almost the trust, the feel, the touch, the everything. Some of that is, our sensories that come into play that where, digital you got by sight, okay? But in the physical marketing, you got sight, you got touch, and depending on what it is, maybe even smell.
Yeah.
So like say a hand sanitizer with the logo on it, you got that particular smell that comes to mind. I even have my chapstick in my pocket right now, my FIP chapstick. Let's see if I can get it out. Okay, we're not going to mess with that right now. But here we go. So I got my FIP chapstick. Well, this flavor is cherry. So obviously that cherry scent that, sticks in my mind when I think about this. There's that sensory that comes into play, whereas on the digital part, you don't have that sensory that kicks in. And that sometimes also goes back to a memory when you have that sensory that ties in. So that's where you kind of have that a little also kind of comes into play and effect. But no, to your point, the business card thing, we had talked about that last week at that trade show we went to. And, that's always been a struggle of mine when somebody does the little tap thing, and I get it. It's great, cause it's always accessible on your phone and you don't have to worry about carrying cards and things like that. But I've had that happen to me so many times at a networking event or something like that, where somebody gives me their information through the tap or whatever the technology is that they have. And then I leave and I'm like, oh, what was that person's name? Yeah. So now can't even go through my contact list to even try to give them a call or a text or whatever, because I don't remember what their name was because I talked to 20 people while I was there.
Well, what I was doing, remember there were the two people who, one guy had that wrist thing that wouldn't work.
Oh yes. That's the other thing.
So, that's a potential when you're using that technology if it don't work, but the ones that did work, I had to take a screenshot so that I could go back and remember, oh yeah, this is the guy that I was talking to. And, then it triggers that memory. And like you said, when you hold that card in your hand, like some of the cards we have, I got 2 different versions of my business cards for FIP. And depending on which one it is, this has the raised lettering, right? And so you remember that stuff.
Yep.
Or if it's the one that's that thicker, I don't know what you call it.
Soft touch.
Yeah, the soft touch. So, but it's thicker.
Yep.
And so just a regular thin business card, you can have 100 of these and not notice. But when you have that person that has that one that stands out just a little bit more, it's just it's a little bit different thickness, a little bit different feel. Like those things stand out.
Yep.
And when we're doing, when we're putting the books together and stuff like that, stuffing them and all that kind of stuff, like you mentioned the smell, like that not the new car smell, but the new book smell when you're flipping through, like that does trigger.
That's very true.
Certain memories. And I think there's also, there's another funny thing I just thought about it. You mentioned something, we were in a conversation earlier about, bell bottoms coming back.
Oh.
I think there's also a little bit of technology overload.
Yeah.
And people want to go back to the days where it was a little bit simpler sometimes.
Yeah.
Again, convenience on the phone, convenience on the computer, all that kind of stuff. But there's something simpler about having that physical marketing. And we haven't even got to the shirts that you're wearing, the all the
products.
other things. Like, we've really been talking about printing out business cards and flyers, but there's so many other things that in the physical marketing world that are so important that we, like I said, we haven't even got to that yet.
Yeah, and obviously we want to be clear. Like, we're not saying that physical marketing is the only thing you should be doing, because it all ties together and you need to work together, because there's different ways you're going to attack the market differently to get different type of customers. And there's advantages to go digitally that you can't even reach to them with the physical, because you do need to be a little more in person or have a mailing list or something like that to do the physical side of it. Whereas digital, you could easily create, just like an algorithm of some kind that targets specific age groups, different, whatever it is that you're trying to target. You can do that a lot easier on the digital side, where it's a little harder to do that on the physical. So they still do have to work together in cohesion. And the other part of that too, that you have to kind of keep in mind is that they always say that, you should touch is the wrong word, but
don't go touching your prospects. Okay?
reach the customer roughly around, they say, like anywhere from 7 to 9 times, just depending on what, statistics you're looking at.
Which sales guru, which marketing guru.
Exactly.
We all have a
because sometimes if you reach the right person, you could get them on the first try. Sometimes, but there is some truth to the fact of, you hit them with a digital campaign. They then sign up for something. You throw them on an email list. Now you're hitting them with the email campaign. Then on top of that, so that's the digital side. Then on that, you also have their mailing address. Now you hit them with some mailers, and then you maybe go in person, and then now you give them a promotional item. There's a whole realm of possibilities in how they work together in cohesion, and how you almost need to do all of it. Now, it'd be great if you just do the first thing and get them as a customer, but we've learned, obviously, that's just majority of the time that's not the case.
But, if you can reach them at that pivotal moment that they're ready to buy, there's a need, there's a desire there, and they're ready to buy, and it's just the first time, then a lot of times they'll be like, oh, this was like it's creepy, the universe is speaking to me, because I just thought about this, and here you are sending me this message, whether it's digital or print, or Google's listening to our conversation. I don't know which way it goes, but
very true. Yep.
But the 7 to 9 touch points, it's about here's how I used to equate it to my recruiters, right? This is what I would tell them about why we have to constantly be out there, seeing us in uniform. We would send them things in the mail. We would reach out and call them. We would talk to them in schools, all those kind of things. It's when it's time to buy, when you finally the need meets the desire and the intention and all those kind of things. When all that comes together, they're going to go with what's familiar to them.
Very true.
And and sometimes it's when that need pops up. So let's take plumbing, for example, right? So I'm not thinking about a plumber every day. I'm not thinking about which plumber I'm going to use. I'm not thinking about any of that until all of a sudden, my kid flushes something down the toilet, and now I got a massive leak in the house, and maybe I'm not a handy person. I don't know how to fix it. Well, who am I going to call?
Yep.
And it's going to probably be that person that not only when I Google their name pops up is one of the first few, but their flyer came in my mail that, when you need me, call the handyman, plumber or whatever. So that's why it's important to have all those different avenues. And, it's kind of like I would joke to my recruiters, say, hey, if your wife, this is what I would say to the guy recruiters, if your wife was to tell you, hey, stop by the store and give me some laundry detergent, which one are you going to buy? And they're like, well, I don't know. Whichever one stands out to you. I'm going, you're going to buy the one that you've seen the commercial and you've got the coupon that's set on the counter for 3 months. That's the one you're going to pick up, not because it's any better or any worse, but that's what's familiar to you.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of even promotional products come to play, in my opinion, when that comes in. So you're at a trade show, you hand out Maybe it's a alligator clip or like a chip clip type thing that you can has a magnet on the back. You put it on your fridge. It's got your logo right there as a reminder constantly, and things like that. There's many different promotional products. Even like I just mentioned earlier, chapstick. Somebody's always carrying that in their purse, their pocket, or in their car as a constant reminder because they, here in Florida especially.
Hey, let me ask you this: what's the craziest promotional product you've ever printed somebody's logo on?
So I once had somebody ask me to put a logo on a hula hoop, and not just one, a multiple quantity of hula hoops. And honestly, I'd never had that request, and I didn't even think it could be done. But through my connections, I was able to find somebody that to make it work, which brings me to a next point that most people don't realize, especially in the promotional product world. All promotional product companies, we use wholesalers. There's just too many products that are out there.
So when you say wholesaler, explain what that means. Like, what is that?
So you have basically, we are the retailer. We have, and then you have the end user, which is the customer. The customer comes to the retail shop to place their order, and then whether it's printing. So if we do like our printed goods, I have to go to a wholesaler to get my paper to do the printing on. Or in this case, in the promotional product world, you have wholesalers that actually do the products and printing for you, because there's over 500,000 products in the promotional product world, and there's no way for a company to have all the proper machineries and everything like that to accommodate doing all those many different products. And now there are a few products that some companies like our company that we can do internally because we have the specific machine that can handle those. There's just no way to have, especially for a small business like us, to be able to afford that different type of machinery.
I mean, just a warehouse to house all that, it would, I mean, you're talking an Amazon warehouse.
Oh yeah.
Just to keep the stock on hand to be able to do it. That's insane. 500,000 different products.
Yeah. And, I've actually toured one of the biggest, wholesalers in the promotional product space. They're actually here in Florida. And they have, like, I can't even tell you, well over $1 million square footage just between the storing and putting the products together and the production side of things. It's insane. But yeah, so that's kind of the difference in the promotional product world. But where I was kind of going with that was more so on how you get a lot more touch points maybe with those, because you're having everyday reminders, whether it's, when you put it on your chip clips or your cereal or whatever the case may be, or you just have it up on the fridge and you're clipping things to it. People use it for different reasons, but that's one in particular I know gets a lot of touch points. If you give somebody a good pen, that they're always constantly using, you got a touch point there. There's many different things out there in the promotional product world that really going to help that side of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with it. With being able to have that to hold on, but it's that constant reminder. And so, if you go into your kitchen 9 times in a day and they look at the refrigerator and there's that chip clip with the logo on it, like, that's when it stands out. And, especially if it's like a service-based business that you're not always thinking about. I'm not always thinking about plumbers or electricians, but when they have that reminder, that's who I'm going to think to go to first.
Yep.
And I just, again, it's important to have a good mix, because I think there is some digital fatigue. And let's be honest, especially when you're out and about, people love to get free stuff.
Yes.
Like, they just want free stuff. And I don't even know why. It is just the more free stuff they can get, the different pens and pencils. And
some of those people won't even come talk to you if you don't have any free stuff. So it gives you an opportunity to have that conversation with them, at least for them to approach you. Now, you're going to have the people that, like our trade show the other day that we were at, where the couple people that just come and just try to grab everything and they're never going to be a customer. That's always a possibility. But if you, again, go to the digital side, the same thing's going to happen. Every person you're trying to target and you're spending that money to target isn't always going to be your customer. Yeah. There's always going to be that, chance you're taking and risk you're putting your money out there and hoping you get the proper ROI out of it and everything like that. So no matter which side you go on, you're going to have that. We were discussing actually just a little bit ago too, as far as just the differences in initially when digital marketing became a real big thing, and it was a lot easier to kind of go in that realm over physical marketing because the cost difference, at the time, digital marketing was, a very affordable, not that it's not affordable now, but I'm just saying it was extremely affordable back then because it was so new and fresh. And so there wasn't as many people in the market to do that kind of stuff. And plus Google Analytics and, their ad cost and everything like that kind of goes into the digital marketing space, was a way lower price. Now, because of the demand and everything, everybody's in the digital space. Now the cost is way higher. So now you're almost basically where you could go either way, and your cost difference is pretty much going to be pretty similar.
Yeah.
Whether it's physical or digital.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages that digital marketing does have when you're talking about that is being able to calculate the ROI, because there's metrics out there that's going to measure, clicks, you do the pay-per-click, advertising, all that kind of stuff. But it's all about the intent. Like, what are you paying for? What do you need? And then what's your expected return? But that's really the same thing with the physical marketing as well. Yep. Seeing people that, using the product or advertising the product, whether, it be through merchandise or whatever, but apparel too. And that's one we haven't hit on yet is apparel. So that's another really, really important piece of it, even if it's you see it all the time. If you go to a gas station at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, all the guys on the crew are wearing the bright yellow shirts with the name of the company on the back. And then that matches the signage on the side of the car. And then that matches, the ad that pops up for the groundskeeper, the landscaping
the website,
people, website, all that kind of stuff. So, how do you see, or what would you advise to company when it comes to the apparel side of the marketing? How do you use that?
As far as when it comes to marketing, really, a lot of, obviously, generally, all your employees should be logoed and everything like that, because you want to have that every face-to-face touch point, reach point, everything like that they're seeing that as a brand recognition and everything. That's always key. But also, a lot of people use it for giveaways. So you and I we're actually trying to, again, one thing about this podcast is, we're not the millionaires that have it all figured out. We're still in the grind, as his hat says right now. Yeah. We're still in the grind. So we're still, obviously still doing things that, and figuring it out along the way. But one thing that we're actually starting to implement right now is where on the back end, the follow-up side of things after, a customer orders, where now we send them a gift as a thank you for ordering with us. And so the t-shirt side of things is basically one of the things we talked about, maybe, sending them t-shirts, maybe a tumbler, all that kind of stuff. But that's another way to use it. But the biggest thing that we typically get orders from isn't always just giveaways. It just depends. But we also work with brands too. Like, so I have a couple customers, they have their own clothing brand, and, so we're making t-shirts for them. I have in my future plans, doing my own clothing brand as well, so those are also things that we can do for customers as well. But on the marketing side, it's more so giveaways and things like that for the t-shirts, hats, all that ties together in the apparel side of things, that a lot of people utilize.
Yeah. I do the point about, having your employees branded, not like cattle. Don't go out there and brand people like cattle.
No, we are not advising that.
But I think that does a couple of things, right? I think number one, yes, if anytime you're out in the public, people are going to see that. And especially if you can have something catchy. Like I remember the guy that had the shirt,
the oven.
Yes, Guy Oven.
The oven with a question mark.
Yeah, the oven with a question mark, right? And
and
you just instinctively have to go, okay, I got to know what's the oven, right?
Yeah.
And when you see that, but you see it repetitive, and you see it over and over, and it doesn't matter whether you're in a large market or a small market, that's always going to be something that you're going to see. There's a reason that the Snap-on guy wears a uniform that says Snap-on on it, or, your landscaping guys, they're all branding with that, because it's constant marketing, it's constant advertising, and especially if I'll use the landscaping, if they're out there mowing your neighbor's yard and they're doing a fantastic job, like we use a company called Massey. I'm not endorsing them, but that's who we use. But all other people, they're everything is branded the same. Their vehicles are wrapped the same. They put the same little frog logo stand out in the yard whenever they come and treat it, but then you start to see it everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's not because there's like 1,000 of them running around, but because they're all the same, you start to notice it.
Yep.
And so when your employees are out there doing that, they start to notice it, especially when they're doing a good job. And it's like, oh, I know this company that does good.
Yep.
And so there's that aspect of it. And I love what you said about the giveaways, the surprise and delight. And that is something we're looking at, not only for, saying thank you for being a good customer, but we're also looking at ways to use that physical marketing tool, whether it's a promo item or whatever, to for that cold outreach in a way. So it's almost like, instead of just doing the table setup at a trade show or whatever, when we're talking to people on the phone and having that conversation, and it's like, I'm thinking about blah, 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 but I don't really know what to do. Well, here's a little, gift of 5 or 6 different items that we could print your logo on.
Yep.
And, now ideas are turning, but those little things, when you can actually touch it and hold it and feel it, that sticks in the memory. So not only are they more likely to order something, but they're also more likely to tell their counterparts about it too.
One other thing I wanted to touch on too is I want to be clear too. You want to be careful in the physical marketing side, and even digital for that matter, that you're not just paying an ad or just doing a flyer. You don't want to just generic. You want to make sure the design element is proper as well, because if you just did if take us for instance, FIP printing. If I just put FIP printing on the front, just the words, nothing else to it, that's it, and then inside it's just what I do, just listing it out. That's all we did. No pictures, no design element to it. We're gonna look probably like we're not a very trustworthy company, or not that it's not trustworthy, but we're not experienced or anything like that. So having that design element in whatever you're putting together, whatever the pieces you're doing, flyers, brochures, booklets, or design, for an ad on Facebook or whatever, those all things need to be eye-catching and make your customers feel like these people know what they're doing. They're going to take good care of me, do the same thing for me, make me look good. And so that's also an important aspect of it too, that some people, I've been one that gets handed out some flyers before for a company, and I'm like, I'm like, maybe it's also because I'm biased because I'm in the business, but I also feel if I wasn't, I would still be like, I don't know, you look like you're not very experienced based on your flyers.
Yeah, you start to notice it, in the inconsistencies, like if your message is inconsistent or your logo's inconsistent. I think you can be simple. I think it's possible to have that simple logo and design, but it has to be consistent and it has to convey the message. Like the Nike swoosh, like it's a check mark, but it's on everything, and it's very it's the same no matter what. But like if you just go online and you just go to one of the AIs and say, create me a logo for a printing company and use a Viking theme to it.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to give you something that looks cool if you're standing back from it, but when you go to print it out, you're right, it doesn't have the same thing. So you want to make sure that is and that's something I learned when I first came to work there. Just seeing how much time and effort goes into making sure every little thing is right.
Yep.
And that is super, super important to not only for the design as far as what the picture looks like the logo up there looks like, but how it fits on the paper, how it prints out, things that I would have never even noticed.
Yep.
But having someone that's a professional like FIP that's doing that makes you look more professional. And again, you're right. It's not just a physical printed, but it's digital as well. And it probably stands out more in digital, I would say.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, because when you're really looking at something in physical print, but here's the thing: it is
You can go
the
like this
masses,
with physical
yeah.
print, you know.
Yeah, but the masses are going to see it
Yes.
on digital. But that customer that you're trying to get is going to see it, touch it, and feel it.
Yeah, and
real
obviously, and then at the end of the day, is whether it's digital, physical, also you want to make sure you're choosing the right company. Again, we're not advocate for working with us by any means. We're just trying to help businesses out as much as you can. So whoever you choose, you make sure you're choosing the right company. But I know how I work, and even Media Minds that we work with that's helping us with making this podcast right now for the digital side. I know we take pride in the end user and how the customer at the end of the day, is taken care of and making sure that they get what they need out of it, and not us just trying to do a quick job and like make quick money or anything like that. So make sure, you're choosing the right company that you're working with, that is going to make sure that they take care of you and truly care about getting it right. That's the key.
Yeah. So I think there's one more aspect to the physical marketing we haven't touched on that we do, and that's the signs and banners.
Oh, yes.
And, when we walked in this room today, I saw this on the wall, and I was like, holy cow, that looks so cool. And it's nice to be able to be able to have that digital, right? But it would have been impossible for us to go to the trade show this past week with 4 TV screens and put that up. So,
yeah.
I know the things that I've used in the past, and I'll tell a really quick story. When I first figured out about, how to do, what physical marketing and all that kind of stuff was when I was still in the Army, and we wanted to get some signage made for an event that we had, a recruiting event we had going on. I had no clue how to do that. Like literally, I wouldn't even known who to call to get any of that done. And I mean, this was 10 plus years ago. And so I started doing some Googling, trying to figure out, how do I, and I think I probably put in there, how do I get a sign printed out? And, a couple of different things popped up, and I ended up finding a local company because I'm one of the people, I don't, not saying I don't trust what I see on the internet.
Yeah.
But I like to be able to see it in person to really understand what I'm getting. And we wanted to get some of the pull-up banners. We needed to get 6 of them, and I had no idea where to get those or what to do. And so I went to this company that did, I want to say they did like T-shirts and stuff like that. And so I was asking them and I was talking to them. And they were like, well, we don't do that, but there's this other company. Long story short, I went through all these different things, and I realized there's this whole other world out there to get this stuff made. And I didn't know that was something that could be done. And, fast forward to, 3 years ago when I did my first event with that other company?
Yes.
We were partners on some real estate at the time.
Yep.
And I think we were just talking on the phone or on a meeting, or someone was like, yeah, I got to find a place to get these banners and stuff made and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude,
I do that, right?
I'm like, you do? I'm like, I thought you just did printing. But, it's amazing that even today, I had no idea. And so that's when you were like, yeah, we can make these signs. Tell me what you want. And we were like, okay, well, can you do these things where you pull them up and it rolls up?
Trackable banners.
They're like, yep, we can do that. And I'm like, okay, what about that big thing that goes behind when you stand in front of to take a picture? You mean the step and repeat? I'm like, is that what it's called? I don't know. But I was describing the things what we wanted without having any clue what they were called. And that's why it's so important, like you said, to find the professionals that do it.
Yep.
Because you might have this idea of something you want and be like, you don't really want that. Or this is what you really need, or this is what that thing is called. And I mean, hell, even this past week, I was still learning things that we can do. And I'm like, what, we can do that for real? and there's just so much.
Yeah.
So, but with the signs and banners, what are some of the different ones? I know I've delivered several. What are some of the ones that stand out to you that businesses could use?
So specifically, like for trade show purposes, you got your table cover, your runners. You got the tent that goes over the top, like a canopy style, looking thing. And then you also have your retractable banners and things like that, or just banners in general. You got your feather flags, as I call them. They're technically called a sail flag or something like that. It's the things that you always see, the flags outside of businesses along the highway.
Oh, it says like sell or whatever
Yep.
banner talking
Yep.
about.
Sail or whatever the case may be, their company logo or cars. Whatever it is. And then you also have you got your banners.
What about the big wind dude that?
We don't do that. I'm honestly, I could look and see if I have a partner for that, but we don't do it in house. But like I said, we have partners, so maybe I do have it out there and I don't realize it. But again, hula hoops. I didn't think we did that, but I found a way to find somebody who could. But other than that, and signage, you got your yard signs, for like real estate people or, other contractors, whatever, service industries use them as well. Max metal signs, which, like on the outside of our building, those are max metal signs. They're good, durable for outside. Then you have your PVC, foam board, posters. I mean, all those kind of fall in the realm of the signage side. But and then the one other thing we didn't touch on that's actually really important, it's probably one of the last things, and then we can wrap this up, but is mailing services.
I forgot about that.
It all ties in, and there's cheaper ways to do it, especially for like a small business. You can send like a postcard, and you can actually target like a route specifically within the USPS. In the post office to target them. And that's your cheapest route when it comes to postage. Instead of if you had a specific list you're targeting, you're going to be talking about, almost double the postage cost compared to if you just went you guys all get like those direct mailers where it says current resident or something like that. Those are like your direct mailers that you can do. Now, again, if you have like you're trying to get leads, you pull them in. Now you're retargeting them. Now you're going to have a list created, and you're going to target that specific list. That's a different type of mailing, but that's one of the things that we offer as well. But that's huge in the physical marketing side because during COVID, one of the things that got me into the print business in the first place is because I was only doing printing and apparel. Not printing, promotional and apparel. And with COVID, when that happened, as I talked about in my last podcast with the struggles I ended up having with that, I realized that the printing marketing was still kind of not full effect. Everybody was still affected by COVID, but it was at least they were trying to reach customers at their homes, because everybody was staying home for the most part. So there's still a way you can reach customers even at their own home. And it used to be back in the day where people would just throw that stuff away immediately. And people still do. I mean, it just depends on the person. But now it's more like people are so, like you said, digital saturated, where now when they get that physical marketing, like, oh, cool, whatever. Maybe not everybody, but I know a lot of people that I've talked to have that kind of feeling.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to when you're doing email marketing, there's still a cost to that. There's still especially if they click on your ad or something like that, there's still a cost. But email and the mailing services, if you hit that same list twice, but not everyone's going to have an email
or check it,
or check. Oh, I don't even look at mine; it's horrible. But one of the other things to that point is the AI and the email services are getting so smart that unless it's done just right, a lot of your emails are going to go straight to the spam or straight to the promotional folder or however you have it set up. So, it could be missed. But that's where that's where the follow-up is so important. That's where, now we get into the digital side, the copywriting and all that just, can be so difficult. But you have the same thing with the mailing services. But when that thing comes in, there's another time where they got that mailer from that plumber, or they got that business card, or they got the postcard, and it's just that one more reminder.
Yep.
And so Yes, having that email list is important. Sending the emails is important, but all they have to do is unsubscribe, and they don't get it anymore. It's a lot harder to unsubscribe from that physical mailing list.
Yes.
The unsubscribe there is just taking it and throwing it in the trash, but you're still going to look at it to see what it is. So, I forgot all about the mailers. That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's about it for this episode, guys. Like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Just a reminder for future reference, it won't always be about the printing side of things. There's going to be topics that we're going to talk about later down the road as we get settled in a little bit more, where we're going to be talking about anything within the business that it can help grow your business, whether that be sales training type talks or things like that. There's going to be a lot of different topics we'll be talking about and touching on. In the beginning, obviously, you're getting to know us a little bit more, so we're trying to talk a little bit about what we offer and do. So what we're knowledgeable at and experts at, then we're going to get into more of the other side of things that we could also help your business out, and that's kind of really what we're trying to do. We want to help the small businesses grow their businesses.
Let's grow together.
Yeah, and again, like I said, we're not the millionaires. We don't got to figure it out. One of the struggles we've talked about is you got these podcasts with all these people that figured it out and got it done, and they make it sound so easy how they got there, but it is not that easy, and we're still in the middle of that grind, and we're hoping that you guys can join along with us in the middle of our grind, and we can grind it out together.
Let's do it. All right.
Thanks for watching, and everybody see you in the next episode.